We're not live, but we're there. Right, let's get to work. Ready?
Yes.
Virtual fist bump. Right, so finally me and Leanne are legally allowed to sit 2 metres apart, and we thought it was a great opportunity to let all our members know exactly what was going on, what we've been working on during the lockdown, and more importantly, to give you information about reopening, some of the initiatives we've got, some of the things me and Leanne are going to do together, which we're really excited about, which we'll tell you about. So me and Leanne are going to talk for half an hour or so, and then she's going to post up various clips so you get to see it all. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to let our members know about is that since the information last week about the relaxation of the restrictions, we've been working to hire a couple of vans that we can load with gym equipment. So for example, Simon Glidden of Glidden Ford very kindly has lent me one of his vans. Big shout out to Glidden Ford. We're going to load up some gym equipment. So say an ergo, an assault bike, some dumbbells, a bench, rope, kettlebells, etc. And then we're going to get some of the guys to drive that van, that equipment to a public place, say for example Goodrington Sands or Bakers Park in Newton Abbot. They will then lay the equipment out, go and sit on a chair about 5 metres away, so they're nowhere near the person that's working out. And that will at least give our members an opportunity to book a slot of 40 minutes with that equipment. We'll have antibacterial sprays, etc. So when they're finished, they can clean it all up and literally the next person can come and jump in. Full information about that will be on all of our social media platforms. It'll be bookable online. So basically, Scafey might say, I want 5 o'clock and bring me a Red Bull. And he'll turn up and work out for 40 minutes, and then Paul Moxon turns up and works out for 40 minutes, etc. It's only one person at a time, can't be more than that. If I can get hold of more vans that we can load more sets of equipment, then we might be able to get 5 vans going. We might be able to have a couple in Newton Abbot, a couple in Torquay, one in Payton, etc. So we're in the process of doing that, and hopefully by next Monday, we'll have that functioning so that our members, we know it's not perfect, we want to be open, we want you in here training as normal, but we obviously can't do that just yet. So we're just trying to find ways that we can give you an opportunity just to do something. So I think you were doing it yesterday with your gear, weren't you?
Yeah, I had 6 guys down.
Check out Leanne's sunburn.
Yeah.
Show me your sunburn.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, she just wanted to wear a bra top on camera. I was going to go topless, but I didn't want to show her up. You know what I mean?
I was down at White Rock and I had 6 clients back to back down there, and it was just so good to get the guys back training again. We know how important it is for all our members to keep moving, for their mental health, their physical health, and I know some people were really struggling without the gym during lockdown. So
why don't you just tell them about going to the toilet in the bushes? That's probably more important.
So there's no toilets down at White Rock, so whoever lives opposite White Rock, I'm really sorry, because I had to go in the bush like 3 times. Thanks for that.
So tip for our instructors, wherever they set up, please make sure, mind you, public toilets are closed, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's this the bushes.
It is what it is.
It's the bushes.
It's all organic anyway,
So,
isn't it?
so hopefully from Monday that'll be functioning. As I say, if any builders aren't using any vans or anything, and I can hire and pay you for it, we're also not going to do any damage to them. We're just going to load some equipment into the back and then sort of try and set up places. And it'll be some of the guys like Jakey and Brad from Torquay and Aaron from over here. They'll literally just lay the equipment out and you can just crack on. And we will limit it to 40 minutes, so that way hopefully we get as many people get a chance to use it as we can.
And just to stress, the government have quite clearly said that one-to-one training is allowed, and we will be adopting all the guidelines.
Not that Leanne's like OCD about any of that. Cool. So the second thing we want to talk about was reopening. So we still get a lot of questions from members about that. We haven't had any guidance at all from the government. We've had no heads up from UK Active, who are our regulatory body. What I have done in kind of preparation for reopen is I've applied for 24-hour opening all 3 sites. I've applied to Teambridge and to Torbay. The reason I did that is my hope is that there are no restrictions when we reopen. My hope is that kind of some of the science comes through and we just go kind of right back to where we were. But if not, one of my concerns was that if they said it's X number of people per square feet, what I didn't want is a situation where people couldn't get in. So by extending our open to 24 hours, or at least having the ability to do it, it means that we've got a great chance of getting more people in. My sense is, just speaking to some of the members online, that people are just desperate to get back to the gym. Plus, I know a lot of people that weren't formerly members who are just desperate to get in and kind of take care of themselves. So I'm trying to make sure there are no barriers so that the time won't be a barrier. That's one thing we've done. The gyms are all clean. The gyms have never been cleaner, in fact, and we're ready to go with that. The second thing I wanted to say to people was just about making sure that there was no financial barrier. So that's really important to me. When I started this business over 20 years ago now, so obviously it's our 20th year anniversary, you've probably seen some of the videos, I never really had a business plan. And I don't ever want to be a businessman. I cringe when people say about, oh, you're a businessman. I'm not wearing a suit, I'm wearing a snapback. And what was important to me is I wanted to run the best gym in the world. And I characterised that as a place where when people went there, their lives were better because of it. So maybe they were just happier, maybe they just had more energy, maybe they were nicer to people, maybe they did nicer things. That was always how I graded this business, Winners 2000. So you might say that's very qualitative, but that's just how it is. I really could care less about anything else. So when we reopen, we'll be offering our existing members some reductions in memberships, and to people that aren't currently members, we'll be making sure that money is not a barrier. So if they are in a bad place after the lockdown and they need a hand, I'll make sure that they get into the gym, get some expert advice and a bit of support from our great staff who do a really good job of kind of looking after people. And sometimes just that initial little bit of support can put people on the right path, and it can save them a lot of hassle. So I just want to let everyone know that the second we can reopen, we will. I've applied for 24 hours, so if you want to open all through the night, if you want to come in at 3 o'clock, it's cool with me, I'll be here, no problem. And that I'll make sure that as far as I possibly can, that finances, economics are not a barrier. Like Winners 2000 is, to me, it's always been about how big an impact could we have in the community. And my sense is, just talking to people online, that the lockdown has had a really big impact on a lot of people, and the second it's lifted, they want to do something to make themselves feel a lot better. So that's, have I missed anything on reopening? Anything you want to add?
No, just that we literally can't wait. We can't wait to see you all. We can't wait to have you all back in.
Will you be taking outdoor classes, encouraging people to piss in the head?
Yes, I will.
Is that a new thing? Is that a new thing that Winners is offering?
Well, maybe not in our outdoor gym, but
I don't think John would be very happy about that.
no, I don't. Not when he's pressure washing outside. Yeah, we just can't wait to see everyone. Like, as a member of staff, I've missed everyone so bad, and I know all the other trainers have. So. Have
you missed me?
Loads.
No chance. No chance.
See you more than I see my husband.
Don't know about that yet. Don't know about that. Okay, so that's the reopening, yeah? So the third thing I wanted to let you know about was about our charity events. So we had a great year last year. I've said this before, but our members are the best gym members in the world. When we ask them for donations or to step and take part, they're absolutely amazing. We had huge plans this year, and obviously we had the duathlon booked for the 5th of April, which was to raise some money for Mayfield College. So we had to cancel that, but my intention is we're doing everything. The second we're allowed to open, we're doing the dog show, we're doing the duathlon, we're doing the bike ride, we're doing the class-a-thon for Coombe Pafford. I don't think it strikes me that these charities and causes probably need us more now than ever, and need money. And I'm certainly aware that some of the mental health charities that I'm in contact with locally, who are completely understaffed, under-resourced, they need every penny they can get. So I don't want the lockdown to prevent us from raising that money. So if you were looking at our charitable events program and you were thinking about taking part in some stuff, it's my intention to do all of it. Now, if that means we're doing the dog show in the rain in November, we're doing the dog show in the rain in November, simple as that. Like, whenever we can get it done, we're getting it done. So hopefully, you'll stick with us on those things, and even if it's not quite a perfect timetable and schedule, you'll still take part and still help us raise some money. Mayfield in particular, I've got a building project ongoing and they need funds, and we want to be a part of that.
Definitely, and everyone should be prepped for a duathlon or a bike ride, because I've seen everyone out on their bikes and running. And
I've seen a lot of people with all the gear.
All the gear, no idea, that's you, isn't it? We have also been doing some charity stuff while we have been closed. I know our Peyton trainer Debbie has raised over £2,000 for Peyton Zoo, which is obviously a really good cause. And some of our other trainers have been raising money for domestic violence and stuff. So we will be flying the charity flag forever and continue to do that when we open. So.
That's amazing. We've got some great people here. Okay. Right, big announcement.
Ta-da!
Ready for this?
The most exciting thing ever.
What do you call it, titty shake?
The Zumba shake.
I ain't doing a Zumba shake.
This is number 1 on YouTube now.
My snapback's number 1 on YouTube. All right, so this is something that we've been, me and Leanne have been talking about for a long time. Big announcement. We're mega excited about this, and I really hope this is going to be of massive value, not just to our members, but maybe to everyone in the community. So this is a project I've had lined up for a long time. As some of you know, I was working on my PhD this year, which is largely about strength and specific to female strength development. I obviously can't do the studies for that now. That's kind of on the back burner. You know, we couldn't get into that. So me and Leanne decided, look, now another bit of better time to.
Da-da-da.
What you say?
Release a podcast.
Not a podcast, the best podcast. So Leanne and I are going to start a podcast. The podcast name is Get Your Mind Right, like the morning classes that I take. Why have I called it Get Your Mind Right? So if you've worked with me, either in the gym or as an athlete or as a client, you know that I'm very big on people taking control of their state, their internal language, the questions they ask themselves, how they kind of determine their identity, these types of things. And what we want to do with our podcast is we've got some incredible guests lined up, people that I've been lucky enough to work with and meet through the gym over the last 20 years, athletes, teachers, experts in their field. What we hope we can do is that we can meet with them, interview them, film them, and that we can do a really good job of asking them questions to put them in a position where they can talk from real strength, things that they're expert in, and that maybe they can give our viewers tips, strategies, rituals, advice that help our viewers to get their mind right. So just to give you some idea of some of the guests we've got lined up. So the first one we want to do, which might actually get filmed first because he's up in Newcastle, is with Iron Mike Williamson. So, and seeing as Leanne's a massive Newcastle fan,
Tune
Army, then I think she might enjoy that one. So those of you that have been members for a long time will know that Mike, I think, was about our 100th ever member back in 2000. Me and Mike have been working together since March 2000. So initially as sort of trainer and athlete, and now just really as friends. He's godfather to my son, and he's a guy I'm incredibly proud of. The thing I always say about Mike is it's not what he did, which was to play 6 years in the Premier League, achieve a 6th place finish, semi-finals of the Europa League. It's not all that stuff, it's how he did it and some of the barriers he overcame. Mike's going to talk quite candidly about some things that probably people wouldn't know went on in his lives and stuff. Mike probably wasn't the most talented footballer, and that's why I think his journey is really important. I hope that young people, or anyone listening, can see that he kind of massively overachieved. He probably had the talent, if you believe that talent's important, which I don't, of maybe a Division 2, 3, 4 footballer, and yet he played at the top level, became a cult hero in Newcastle. So Iron Mike is going to be guest number 1 because he really was there right at the start in Winners 2000. He can probably talk a lot about the evolution of the training he's done as an athlete, so hopefully we can get across some of the physical prep and how that changes as you age, some of the concepts I believe in and things I've coached with him. He's now a manager, player manager at Gateshead, so he can talk also about sort of coaching. He was very lucky to work with some great coaches, Tony Adams, Paul Lambert, Brendan Rodgers, Malky Mackay, Chris Hughton, Pardew, a lot of stories about that. I'm even hoping he's going to tell the story about Stephen Taylor and Andy Carroll in the physio room, which I think Newcastle fans would really enjoy, but he might not want to do that. How much are you excited about getting Iron Mike down?
Well excited.
Well excited. Are you going to wear your Newcastle shirt for the day? I've got
Just my Newcastle shirt.
I've got a few Iron Mike shirts that you can
I've got two.
borrow.
What
are you going to ask Iron Mike then?
Is he still married? No, I'm joking. We better edit that.
Yeah, edit.
Cut.
What are you going to ask Iron Mike?
What it was like playing at Newcastle.
Sure, he's probably been asked that a million times.
Who his favourite manager is.
Yeah.
I can guess who his worst manager was, but
yeah.
And just what it's like being in the Premier League. It's really cool.
Yeah, so it's funny really because me and him have done a lot of these things and they're very typical questions. And what I want to do in the podcast, I want to ask him some untypical questions. I've already sort of gone through this with what we're going to do, but I actually want to put him on the spot a little bit.
Put him in the hot seat.
Yeah, me and Mike, when he comes to see me now, we very rarely talk football or sport or athletics. We talk more geek shit, philosophy and psychology, which is something he's really interested in. And one of the topics I want to cover with Mike is about motivation. So Mike was, and he would talk about this on the podcast, Mike was very strongly motivated by fear. And we often would talk about, was motivation by fear a good or a bad thing? And now that he's kind of at the end, pretty much, of his playing days, one of the things that we're going to talk about is I want him to look back retrospectively and say, was fear a good way to motivate me, or would I have been better without it? So I have views on it. I was his coach and his mentor and his friend from when he was 15, and we shared so many sort of experiences, and it was an honour to be kind of with him and by his side, almost live his career vicariously, I think is the right word. But we're going to talk a lot about sort of motivation, and hopefully that can help young people, young athletes, or anyone just realise that sometimes maybe fear and things that seem a little bit painful don't have to be a bad thing. So maybe rather than most people ask our Mike, how much money did you make? Who was the best player you played against? And what happened with Stephen Taylor and Andy Carroll in the physio? That's what most people ask him. So we've got Iron Mike, he's going to be up first. Who should I say next? So a guy who I'm really excited to have is Mike Lock, OBE, or as I call it, Mr. Lock, because I've got so much respect for him. So Mr. Lock is the headmaster of Coombe Pafford School, and he has been now for about 25 years. If you've been a member for a while at Winners 2000, you know we have a real affection for Coombe Pafford, which goes back to my dad working there. And I remember Coombe Pafford in sort of 1980 when I was very young, and some of the problems, you know, the lack of funding and just lack of facilities it had. Mike Lock, and to be fair, Mr. Thompson and some of the others there, some unbelievable teachers, have just been incredible in the way they've been driven and refused to take no for an answer. And to see the way the school is now in comparison to how it was is incredible. What typical of Mike Lock, Mr. Lock, and how humble he is. When I said, listen, I really want you to come on and I want you to talk about what you've done with the school, and we talk about the challenges for children with learning disabilities, he said, oh, my story's not interesting. He's one of the most humble people I've ever met. I'll give you one of the things I really admire about him. When he managed to get funding for an all-weather pitch, it's very boggy at Coombe Pafford, so they would often not be able to play sports outside. I remember going to sports day once. Like me and Hannah went to sports day to sort of present the prizes, and the kids were all running around the track falling over because it was so wet. He managed to get funding for this all-weather pitch. I went there and said, well done, Mike, this is amazing. He didn't want to talk about it. He was talking about, I'm going to do the garden centre next. He's already on to the next thing. So have you ever met Mike Lock?
No, I haven't.
I think you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I just hope that he actually will take some
credit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope we can get him to actually accept, some. I said to him, he's one of the few people on the planet I really respect and would like to be like, and he doesn't want to accept it, but he's a great guy. So we're going to have Mike Lock on.
Exciting.
You like footballers, don't you? We've got a few of them. So we're going to have Kev Nicholson on. So obviously, if you're a Torquay United fan, that should be a really interesting show. But I want to make it more than just about football and Torquay United. To give you some background to it, I worked with Kev from about 2011 or 12, initially on his physical, which was not great, and trying to prolong his playing career. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But very early on in our relationship, he was asking me about coaching and management. So actually, we really spent more time working on that, on some of the things I believed in, studying leaders and other people that we really admired. Kev, as I told him he would, one of the goals we set, became manager of Torquay in, I believe it was September or October 2015, and we worked very closely, and it was one of the most enjoyable experiences of my career to be heavily involved in that process with Kev in that first year, and going through the madness of a club really with no owners and no money, and driving cars to away games and nowhere to train, and getting kicked off council pitches and all the rest of it, to being able to sort of develop some incredible relationships and keep the club in the league that year, and then to continue it for another year. And obviously things didn't end very well there for Kev. We might get into that in the podcast. Kev's now head of coaching at Exeter City. I hope that he can talk a lot about how young people are developed in academies, maybe some of the things that are missing, maybe some of the things that they need a bit more than they get. And I'm hoping we can make it not just of interest to Torquay United fans, but interesting to people of an interest in sort of developing youth.
Yeah, we have a lot of members here in Paynton whose kids play at quite high-end football, so
Right.
I think a lot of them will be interested in that. But yeah, it's really exciting to get loads of different types of people on.
And I think our job is we've got to ask them good questions.
Yeah.
We can't just ask them how much money you earn. We've got to ask them good questions so that our listeners actually get to benefit from their experience. Kev's a great friend of mine, and I'll probably be quite protective of him, probably because I was part of the process, so I know everything that went on. And for anyone that would ever say, oh, you know, the team didn't achieve what it, I think in the circumstances that he had, what he achieved was an absolute miracle, and he should be incredibly proud of it. And I hope that all Torquay fans realise just what an incredible job he did in very difficult circumstances. So we're going to have a geek episode, and my tutor at university, Dr. Jeremy Moody, big respect to Dr. Jeremy Moody. So he was formerly the head of the UKSCA, that's the UK Strength and Conditioning Association. This is a guy that is on the ultimate top table. So when you ask me about strength and conditioning, in my head I visualise a top table which has Buddy Morris, my mentor, who's the S&C coach at the Arizona Cardinals. It has Louis Simmons, who people think is a complete nutter from Westside Barbell. It has, say, Charlie Francis, who's no longer with us, who was Ben Johnson's sprint coach and talks a lot about what we call high-low CNS work. I put Dr. Jeremy Moody on that table. He's another one very humble that when I say this to him, oh no, Simon, don't be silly. I think he said to me, well, maybe I could deliver the coffees to the table. And I said no. So Jeremy's just produced, I think, his second book, which I think is the absolute Bible for strength and conditioning. He's been very, very kind and helpful to me as an academic later in life, and I'm sure I'm a very difficult academic in that I'm OCD and I'm always asking questions and I'm probably a complete pain in the ass. But he's been great to me. He's agreed to come on. We might be on location for that one.
Okay.
Because Dr. Jeremy Moody is an amazing guy, but probably the worst organised person I've ever met in my entire life. So we might actually have to go to him or he'll never turn up.
Cool.
If we drive to Cornwall or something, oh, I was meeting you down there. So what I'm hoping to get from Jeremy Moody is for a lot of our members that are interested in performance and the more technical aspects. How do I get quicker? What's the best way to get strong? How do I run faster? I'm actually hoping to ask those questions to Jeremy Moody. You're going to ask him about your squat, are you?
Yeah. How do I get my 100k squat? Come on.
We're close, aren't we? We're
close. Close.
I mean,
so close.
You got the best coach anyway. Do you know what I mean? So Dr. Moody will be on, and I'm really grateful to him because he's an incredible busy guy up at my university, Cardiff Met. Big shout out to Cardiff Met, best university in the country. So Dr. Moody will be one of our guests. Rachel Hawthorne, you know Rachel, don't you? So Rachel is, she runs Mayfield College. She runs the college up near Ockham, where we're trying to raise some money for, and again it's for children with learning disabilities. I want to bring Rachel on because I want to talk about the difficulties and still the lack of services, not just for the children, but the support for the families for these children that maybe have got some very difficult circumstances. Rachel is incredible. I often say when I go there, I just don't know how you do your job. Because it kind of impacts me when I see some of the circumstances. I couldn't switch off from it. Rachel is absolutely incredible, does an amazing job. I think she's another one who's a little bit shy to come on, probably feels like, well, what's my story? But what I want Rachel to talk about is the challenges these children face, what they really need, and maybe I can sort of get a few more people to donate a bit more money to Mayfield. That would be great. So we've got Rachel on. You know Rachel, don't you?
Yeah, really nice lady she is.
What are you going to ask Rachel?
Just basically what motivates her, how she, keeps going, like you said, and the barriers and how we can help, because this is such an important cause, isn't it? And
yeah. So the key thing that I think is how do you disassociate? So how do you switch off? So I know my dad, when he worked at Coombe Pafford, he really struggled with that. He would bring it home with him. I think is the phrase that people use. Rachel, unless she's a secret alcoholic, which she might be, gin. Then I just, she does an incredible job and she should be really proud, and I want to get her on and sort of, I think, say we lost Studley Knoll from our community, which was an amazing school, but we still have incredible places. We should be proud of them, like the grammar schools, Coombe Pafford, Mayfield. We should be really proud of these things and we should prop those places up. So we're going to have Rachel on. So back to the footballers. You prefer the footballers, don't you? So I've got two more footballers. So Dan Butler, who's a guy that I got to know at Torquay United and worked with and now have a very close relationship with. Currently plays with Peterborough. I think their season's just been cancelled. They were in the promotion places as well.
Oh, no.
So I think he's going to miss out. It's always been his goal was always to play in the Championship, and I told him you're going to play in the Prem. So Dan's up in Peterborough at the moment. I met him at Torquay. We've worked together very, very closely. Since then, he left Torquay because we didn't have any money to keep him, and he went to Newport. Had a bit of an up and down time there. Dan's story is one that I think is pretty typical for a lot of young people, in that they maybe have a path that they feel like they're on and everything's going really, really well, and then they'll have a setback. And what I feel about Dan was he had his setback when he was at Torquay. You know, he'd been from Portsmouth and things were going great, and then he had a setback. And I think for a lot of young people at that point, they can turn left or they can turn right. And what his story is really about is how he was able to turn right, and all the things that he kind of did to get to that place. And again, a lot of it will come back to mindset and stuff. So he was able to take a very difficult situation and take some speed bumps and to kind of push forward. And I think for anyone that's sort of at a football academy, any young sports person, I don't think your progress is ever linear. I think your progress is always a bit more bumpy. And what I notice with young people is sometimes when the bumps hit, they quit. And what I think Butts can talk about is how he found ways, what was his reasons and motivation. Once he was able to kind of dial into his purpose, which is what we worked a lot on, he's like a rocket ship. And you know, he's a great kid. I'm very proud of him. Every time he comes down and trains, he eats about 40 breakfasts at Ockham Farm. I think that's the only reason he comes here.
They do a good breakfast.
They do a good breakfast. So we'll have to wait until Ockham Farm's open before Butts can come down. To give you an idea of how hard working he was, a couple of years ago, he was at Newport. They played the last playoff final at Wembley, which I think was the 31st of May. So he played like 67 games, played every game. He's never been injured. He does all his prehab. He's an incredible athlete. Played every game, every minute. Took a penalty in the semi-final. They lost in the last minute or something at Wembley. On the Monday, he flew out, got married. I think it was in Ibiza or something like that. On the Thursday, he flew home. He didn't even go home. He landed. His wife went home. He drove down here, and he was in the gym with me at 5:30 on a Friday morning. And that's Butts all over. So, you know, have you ever met him?
No.
So Butts is a great kid. I'll put some pictures of all these people up so we can get them up on the thing. But when we first got to work with him, the scouting report we had on him was it was a bit of a hothead, and that he might be a bit of a problem.
Okay.
But he never was. But I've got a couple of stories about that when we were talking about. He's going to talk a lot about, say, his journey through professional football. And I hope that young people can take something from it. I hope from that episode they can take, I am going to get knockbacks, it won't be smooth, how do I keep going? I think, again, a lot of it is your mindset. So that's Butts. Dodge.
Yes.
Dodge is coming on.
Yay.
Do you want to introduce Dodge as soon as I'm talking? What does Dodge teach you?
He has come down here and taught us loads about S&C and Olympic lifting.
So some of our members might remember Sam Dodge. Sam Dodge to this day remains the only person ever to come to a job interview with me in a full suit.
Did you really?
Yeah, 2000, I lose track of time, maybe 2005, maybe something like that, 2006. I'm sure we'll talk about it on the podcast. Sam's a great guy, a huge success, and does a lot for us. Sam is currently part of the strength and conditioning team at Bristol Bears Rugby. He's had an incredible career so far, working with the Welsh RFU, Welsh Taekwondo, and a few other positions in S&C. He is the ultimate geek. He's been very helpful to me throughout my master's degree and helping me with my PhD on some of the science. He is really into the science of things. What I thought we could do with Dodge, as well as talk about his journey in strength and conditioning, because it's quite difficult to get jobs in S&C. Again, I'm going to ask him specific questions about how do you get jacked, hypertrophy keys for speed development, keys for power development, keys for strength development, because I hope that that's of value to our members. I think what me and Sam are also going to do is actually kind of write some workouts and post them up so that you can almost follow them, and maybe we'll video those up. So Sam is based in Bristol, and again, as soon as lockdown's over, Sam will be down to shoot that one. What are you going to ask him? How to get 100k squat?
How to get 100k squat, how to get
Be tougher is the
a
answer.
massive... I was going to say how to get a massive snatch, but I meant...
Yeah, edit that. That's the third time today I've had to tell her about that. So we got Sam Dodge lined up, and the last one on my list for the sort of the first round, who I spoke to yesterday, who's not confirmed but I hope will come, is Gus McDonald, and I asked him if he wanted to bring his partner along, Alexandra Burke. Have I pronounced that? Is it Burke? Yeah.
The singer?
The singer, yeah.
Yes, I
Hang
saw
on a minute.
her in...
I've spoken about like 40 people who didn't even like raise your eyebrows. I mentioned the singer and you're jumping off your chair.
I saw her in The Bodyguard at the theatre, she's amazing.
Oh right, yeah, I'm probably out of my depth when it comes to music.
Well,
and stuff.
I'll do that podcast.
You do that podcast. All right, okay. So Gus is a young man who has endured a lot. Any Torquay United fans will know from his time here. He and I had a great relationship, and we were incredibly proud of his development. When Kev and I went into Torquay, Kev had already said, I want to make him captain, he has potential. But shall we say Gus was a bit of a loose cannon, shall we say, might be the best way to describe it. And we spent a lot of time talking about leadership, what type of leader he wanted to be. He went on to be our captain, to be a phenomenal leader, our best player, and made Torquay a huge sum of money, really doing us a favour. Didn't have to re-sign with us, but we knew that we could sell him for money. Gus has had some serious health issues. Gus was diagnosed with, I think it was bowel cancer about 6-9 months ago. He's made a full recovery. Gus is going to hopefully talk a little bit about that. But also his journey through football. And again, he was one that started off doing really well, had some setbacks. So I thought his journey would be really interesting. I'm hoping he's going to bring his dog Rex, Boxer, who's like the cutest dog you've ever seen. And I'm hoping that Alexandra will come. I thought that would be really, for a gym, it'd be totally different for us to have someone talking about show business, singing, how to get into it, the barriers that she must have overcome. So hopefully, Gus, that might be it's Hull. Do you fancy going to Hull?
Yeah. She's duetting with Beyonce. I'll go anywhere.
You're interested in like the PhD?
Yeah, I am.
You want to go to Cardiff and do Dr. Moody, but you go to
Have
Hull.
you got Beyonce's number? That's what I wanted.
God. So that's kind of round one of our podcast. And as I say, what we hope we can do is we can ask the right questions. Each time we're going to have a guest on, what we'll do is we'll let our members know about it so that you can send in some questions. If you want to ask Guy and Mike how much money you made, if you want to ask Kevin Nicholson what really happened at Torquay, probably won't answer it. If you want to ask Butts about how he was able to play without missing a game for 3 years, all these things. So we'll make sure you get a chance to ask your questions and then we'll put them to him on the show.
Yeah.
Are you excited to have a podcast?
So excited because I think it gives us the opportunity to basically present how amazing the gym has been to these athletes and people and how it's helped them progress, the mentality behind their training and motivation. But also it's going to be giving our members the opportunity to learn more about their training, learn more about how to build effective mindsets, to continue to be motivated to train and get results. We will also be doing stuff on weight loss, female weight loss.
Are you jumping ahead? That's page 5.
Sorry.
Page 5. Can't get the stuff. So that's one other thing I should say as well is like there are plenty of other members that we want to and staff actually that we want to get on the podcast. For example, Amy. So Mike and Amy and Gary Willis. So I want Gary and Ben Willis to come. They really are the people that I worked with most intensely from day one. So for example, I said to Ames, look, I think we should talk a little bit about the fundamentals of female performance training. So for those of you that don't know Amy, formerly Amy Wake and Naomi Gudgeon, we worked together from the age of 9 and she was UK ranked #1 sprinter, hurdler, long jumper. So Mike and Amy have kind of been the two that were with me or with us from day one and can talk, I think, about the evolution of their training as they aged. Amy in particular, I thought would be really interested in terms of young girls seem to stop exercise at 16, 17 or fall out of love with things. Yeah. And I thought Amy would be really powerful to talk about that. She's obviously incredible now. She's a firefighter and a mum and a wife and all these things. And she's competed in jiu-jitsu and fitness. Modelling, all sorts. So I thought it'd be great to get her on. She's another one too humble. I don't want to do that. But I
think it would be so good to hear how someone who is a mum and has a full-time job and stuff still stays motivated and manages to fit all that into life and get...
Well, you'll have to twist her around because I say it to her and she's like, oh no, I'm not sure I want to do that.
Amy, I'm coming for you.
She'll probably put you in a jet in a
probably.
Do you know what I mean? So people like Kath Payne as well. And I'll tell you who I really want on the podcast. Scaife.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've got to get Scaife on there.
I want Scaife. Now, Scaife, when I think about Winners 2000, if there's one member that if somebody think about it, I'd always go back to him. Before I even opened the gym, this big gorilla was walking up my stairs in 1999, Christmas, telling me, oh, is your equipment going to take me? I'm not strong I am and stuff.
Chucking dumbbells and out.
He never did that. Right, he never did that. Scaife and Sean, all that group of lads, were the best, most respectful gym members you could ever ask for. They treat it like their front room. I love them to this day.
They still do. They're like our little protectors.
Yeah. And I want Scaife on. I was even thinking about having him as #1 because when I think about are we wearing a good gym, I think about people like Scaife. I remember this story in about 2008. I took on a member of staff who had I thought had a real potential. I won't say who it was. And about 3 or 4 weeks into their time with me, Scaife came up to me and said, I won't say he or she because it might give it away. He said, they ain't going to cut it. I said, what's the matter, mate? What do you think? He said, they don't pick the shit up. What he meant was that person walked past some paper towel on the floor. Within about 6 weeks, that person was gone. It didn't end particularly well. And I remember thinking, Scafey knows what makes a good gym. So Scafey, and I miss you, because I spent probably the first 10 years of my life, I saw you every night. I saw you more than I saw my children and my family, and I used to love you coming in and training. So I want to get you on the podcast to talk about the impact that training's had on your life, to talk about maybe the journey of like being a member here since day one, since before day one. So I want Scafey on.
Yes.
And there's plenty of other
There's
people.
so many people. Like Alan would be good because he's had a phenomenal journey over the last 12
Shame we
months.
can't get Cecily and Maisie. That would have been a good one. But,
Yes.
Gone to a better place.
Yeah.
Yeah, gone to a better place.
Training till she was 95, 95.
And never made an excuse about nothing.
No,
No, yeah, let's hope we can all get
rest
that.
her soul.
So that's some information on the podcast, and we're mega excited about it. And as soon as those people are legally allowed to sort of come here, so Iron Mike's lined up. I think Iron Mike's down next weekend. So if we can do that, we might shoot that one then.
Better do more routes then. We won't just be recording it on audio. We'll also be filming it so that you can check it out on YouTube as well. So
Yeah, you've got to sort all that. That's your.
I'm on it.
Yeah.
Don't you worry.
On it. Yeah, I want to go back to it. Okay.
I think it's my turn to go.
No, it ain't your turn.
Yes, it is.
I'm not taking John Boy again. I don't know who I'm going to take, but I'm not taking John Boy. John Boy told me I'd ruined his life after 4 days. 4 days of 4 o'clock bath, 5 o'clock mobility.
No such thing as a holiday retirement.
4 times a day working out, running 10Ks in the middle of the day because I felt we hadn't done enough. Okay, so before we, or at the same time as we're filming the podcast, Leanne and I are also going to film something called Talking Shop. Talking Shop is where what we want to do is find the most common, popular questions and allow our members to post questions about that. For example, the first one we're going to do is about weight loss. Okay, so I hate the phrase weight loss, and I'll explain that in the episode because people don't want weight loss. Right? They think they want weight loss. They actually want something completely different. And we're going to cover that in the episode. But the first one we're going to do is about weight loss. How do I lose weight? What are the keys to lose weight? So Leanne's going to post up something different where you can actually tag your questions. I've been working on weight loss with people for about 21 years now. So I can talk probably from a place of experience. Leanne has probably been working with me on getting jacked for about 18 months now. So you can probably talk from the perspective of someone that initially was trying to lose weight,
Yeah.
and how maybe having a paradigm shift or a mindset shift actually has produced phenomenal results, and you're in incredible shape and done incredibly well. Did I say something nice about you? I believe you've done that. I think actually we might be able to talk about what we did a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
That might be relevant. How I made you cry a few times in my office. It's worth it though, isn't it? Yeah. And you need to hear some of it, don't you?
Well, definitely. On a
Yeah.
level of accountability.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Thyroid, nut butter, and all the rest of that shit. Stop eating donuts. That's what Scafey would say to you. Scafey used to say to me, it's simple, stop eating trays of cakes. That's what Scafey used to say to me. But I think the real key again is what goes on upstairs.
Yeah, 100% mindset for me.
So the first thing is going to be about weight loss. Then we're going to shift into performance. So for people that are interested in what's the best strategy to gain strength, to gain power, perhaps that'll give me an opportunity just to geek off a little bit, perhaps get into some of the periodization models and maybe make reference to some of the things I did with Luke, to get Luke phenomenal strength gains back in about 2012 when he was competing. So we'll do one on performance. But Leanne will post that up so you can all get your questions in. Looking forward to Talking Shop.
Yeah, can't wait.
If I said to you, what do you think people are going to want to know about weight loss? Do you think it's going to be very one-dimensional? Like, what should I eat? How many cacos?
No, I think the more I work with people and I speak to people when the gym's open, I think people struggle with accountability, maintaining motivation,
Sure.
Their mindset, and letting negative things that have happened to them in the day completely ruin their motivation to train, ruin their motivation to stay on track with their
Sure.
nutrition,
Sure.
knowledge, because I think there's so much BS available on fad diets and
Yeah.
quick fixes,
Yeah.
and I think it's important that we do this in order to just get rid of the smoke and mirrors and give you the hard facts and show you the way,
Yeah.
because that's what you did for me, and it's been phenomenal. So
Yeah, so I think when I have this conversation with people about weight loss, and the first thing is we reframe, okay, so what do you really want? Because it isn't weight loss. And then I think, as you say, the one-dimensional approach to weight loss can often be, here is a diet, follow it, here is a number of calories, follow it, go to a slimming club, etc. And I don't want to be critical of those things. But to me, that never addresses the real issue.
Or educates.
No, my aim is that I think what they need is to kind of clear their fog generally, to focus on some of the, okay, what do I want, what's important to me, and those are the questions. And then I think it almost is like their food choices happen as a consequence of where their mind's being directed, and that's certainly been my experience.
I think it's very common as well, like people know that sometimes what they have to do, and when they do it they feel good, but they always end up like messing it up at the end of the week or whatever, and they just don't understand why they're in that cycle. So
I think that's very common. So a lot of the people I've worked with on weight loss, I use that horrible phrase, over the years, their identity, and this is a phrase in psychology, that their identity has become a governor. They've tried 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, and each time they've tried they've failed because the advice and the strategy probably wasn't correct. But the feedback that they take from that is, I fail, I'm a quitter, I can't lose weight, I'm fat, I'm always going to be like this.
yeah.
And that becomes their self-talk, that becomes their belief, and you go around in this circle. In my experience, the best thing that you can kind of do for someone is, when you spend a little bit of time with someone, say like Thatch spends an hour with a client once a week or whatever, I think that he kind of rubs off on him a little bit, and they build trust in him and they build faith in what he says. And over a period of time, their identity starts to shift from, I can't do this, I'm a failure, to, well, maybe if I do what Thatch tells me, this might work. And then they get momentum, this is working for me. You know, I'm now not a quitter, I can see a strategy, and then I think things start to change. So I hope we can do a good job on that, because that's probably, 8% of our members,
I think so,
something like that.
Definitely.
So that's our talking shop. We're almost there.
Almost there.
Has your phone not died yet?
No.
That's unreal, isn't it, with all that porn you got on there? Huh? Okay, so...
Fans only. Jokes. Not really. Joking.
I don't know anything about OnlyFans.
Watch everyone search now on Instagram.
I don't think I'm going to get many hits. Maybe a few grannies or something.
I put a live Q&A up on my Instagram story. Someone asked me to send a picture of feet for money, so...
Is that true?
I'm quitting. I'm joking.
Oh my God.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh my God.
It's not happening. I hate feet, but...
That's taking the wind out of my sail, isn't it?
What help do you need with training? Send nudes. No, thank you.
I'm not leaning on it.
Yeah, give me another 6 weeks.
Right, so let's finish up here. So I hope the online workouts are of use to you. I hope they give you something to do rather than nothing. If there is anything that we haven't done in our online workouts, then please let us know. Just post up on our pages and we'll try and cover that. It's not the same as being at the gym, we understand that. I know that a lot of people say to me, when I'm at home, I can't disassociate. I'm very aware of that there is part of travelling to the gym, and almost metaphorically, and you're kind of closing a door on work and family and having just that. I understand that. My advice would be something's better than nothing, and that exercise is such a key part of keeping yourself sane, physically, mentally. So I hope those online workouts, and Leanne's been absolutely incredible. So I hope they've been used. Have we had some good feedback on it? People been enjoying it or not?
Yeah, we've had some really lovely messages on the group, and I know that Rachel messaged in to say that they were really helping her mentally and physically. Claire had written a lovely message to say that our online workouts were literally saving her life during lockdown. So thank you so much to everyone that tunes in and messages. You do not know how much they keep me and all the other trainers going as well. Just still having that contact with our members and being able to give you the ability to exercise is just a bit of a lifeline for us as well. So we're loving doing it, and we're glad that you're enjoying it too.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that's come out of this, speaking to all of our guys really, is how much they miss their work.
Oh yeah.
How much they miss it is like, so I think, I've said to people before, find a job you love, you'll never work again. So I've never felt like I was working.
No,
I'm going to work in a snapback and a pair of Jordans, and I miss seeing the good things happen in the gym on a daily basis. I miss seeing that people lose weight, overcome depression, the athletes. I miss that. Those things give me great sense of achievement.
Well, it's like a family, isn't it? And then it's like, I haven't felt like I've had that for ages. And
I hope so. I hope our members feel that. I hope our members have always felt that like the gym was about them. That's always been the aim. That's always been
part of something special.
Yeah. You're getting a bit wet now.
Yeah.
You're getting a bit wet. Right, last one, and then we can finally wrap before your phone runs out. One of the things we would like to do is to try and help our members who have a business that's been affected by the lockdown to regenerate and to get some trade going. If you're a member of the gym and you have a business, for example, a restaurant, a pub, a nail salon, anything that's been closed down, and you're obviously concerned about, you want to get your trade going again when you are allowed to start. If you would like us to promote you on our social media page, completely free, no charge, nothing like that. We would just like to do it in the hope that if, say, we have 5,000 members as part of our family, if they're going to go out for a coffee on a Sunday morning, maybe they could go to one of our members' coffee shops. If they need a car service, maybe they could choose one of our members' garages like Glen Ford.
If they need their eyebrows done because they're touching now.
I've got some razors. They
are terrible, man.
But if you would like to do that, you can email Leanne, Rich in Newton Abbot, and Shane in Torquay. What you need to do is just say who you are, how long you've been training at the gym, send some information about your business, links to your social media pages, and just a bit of general info that we can post up for you. We'll then make those into kind of adverts, we'll post them up, and what we really hope is that within our winners family, if you kind of all make those decisions when you are able to get out to go and use that cafe, that garage, that nail salon, then it might really help our members who've got those businesses who've been impacted. Rather than say selecting like a national chain, rather than going to Sainsbury's, maybe you can go to the local, like the guy in the Newton Abbot market that I went to and got stuff from. Maybe you can buy your veg from a local guy instead, and maybe that helps. So I'll get Leanne to post up the email addresses. Richard at Winners2000 for Newton Abbot, Shane at Winners2000 for Torquay, Leanne at Winners2000 for Paignton, and we'd be more than happy to post that up for you. Right. Cool. Rabbit on for long enough. What did we miss?
Do we need to say anything to members about the memberships or anything?
Can do, yeah. So members don't lose a day. Members don't lose a day. I don't think any of us thought this was going to go on so long.
Yeah.
So members who pay by direct debit have been frozen or will have the time returned. Members who had cash memberships have the days added on.
Yeah.
So that's all taken care of. So no one will lose a thing. So that they'll only pay for the days they can train. Really. Anything else you need to talk about? Should we talk about your training in lockdown?
Yeah. Wall walks. I think I've done about 1 million wall walks.
Or should we talk about my 6:45 row yesterday?
Yes, let's talk about
you.
Please, let's talk about you again.
Or my 210k dead. I don't want to talk about it. Don't ask me about that because I don't want to talk about it. I'm too humble. How have you found? Is your phone going to keep going?
Still going strong.
I've been saying to you for a long time about your training.
Yeah.
That sprinting is going to be kind of the holy grail. It's going to be the thing that takes you over the edge.
Yeah.
And I've been saying to you for a long time that at the moment you're limited because your mobility is not great.
Yeah.
So your mobility and your ability to achieve shape, positions and movements actually holds you sprinting back.
Yeah.
But you've been sprinting up a hill backwards and forwards.
Yes.
And your neighbours think you've gone nuts.
They did, until I forgot to tell you this. Last week, on Wednesday, when I walked to go to do my backwards sprints up the hill.
Have you fallen over yet?
No.
Oh.
I came around the corner and there was a dad at the bottom of the hill and this little boy was sprinting backwards up the hill, and I was like, try not to cry.
Yeah.
And he went, oh, I'm really sorry, I hope you don't mind, but my son watches you from his window every Wednesday and wondered if he could do it. And I was like,
amazing.
This is the best thing ever. It was so cute.
Did you get his number and arrange to do it with him every Wednesday? Because he's probably quicker than you.
He is quicker than me, and he's like 3 foot shorter.
So
but, yeah, it's been really good. It's been really good.
There's a couple of things that the reason I thought we should talk about it is that one, control what you can control, do what you can do. All right, so if people can't get access to the gym, there's plenty of things they can do. The second thing, and this is one of the reasons I really want to get Amy on, is that I am a great believer in sprinting, sprint training, sprint mechanics as being kind of like a secret weapon. So that's why I mentioned Charlie Francis and Buddy Morris as people I really respect. I think sprinting drives up strength, and we'll perhaps get into that in the performance podcast. Some of the reasons people can't sprint is that they're so immobile.
Yeah.
For example, they can't achieve full hip extension when
Yeah.
they strike down. You're a bit tight in your hips, which
Yeah.
most people are. You work a lot of hours, you drive a lot, so it's pretty common. But your mobility work actually is probably the key, because that's going to allow you to sprint better.
Yeah, definitely.
When Amy tries something, so say about 6 months ago, me and Luke have been walking on our hands, and I was really pleased, and me and Amy were training legs on a Sunday, and I thought, I'm going to be better than Amy at something. This is going to be great. So I said, I'll tell you what, we'll do walk on our hands at the end of the session, thinking she can't do it. So we go in the studio, I flip up, do about 10 metres, feeling good about myself, I'm finally better than something at Amy. What does she do? Flips up, walks across the studio like it was no big
Turns
deal.
around and comes back.
My point being that I think sprinting has a massive carryover to a lot of other things, particularly for her because she was doing it at such a young age. And for a lot of the females in the gym, if they worked with me, I would follow a similar path as I've done with you. Can I get them mobile enough so that they can sprint without a risk of injury? Because I think the sprinting then carries over to everything else.
Yeah.
So I think when we go back to normal, hopefully you'll be sprinting up the hills outside there. But has it kept you going? Has it been enough?
Oh yeah, 100%. So I remember when it first got announced that the gym was closing, like I completely went into meltdown.
Yeah, you started crying and
Yeah.
text me saying something
I know.
crazy.
I
yeah.
had like a massive panic attack,
Not like you.
thinking,
Not like you.
thinking how am I gonna do any exercise? How am I gonna stay motivated? But the plan you gave me has been brilliant. I've had phenomenal results doing it, and I think, yeah, it's just really made me think about how effective working out can be if it's programmed correctly. Like you see people running miles or doing loads of crazy shit all the time, and then just a simple tweak can just change everything. And I think,
yeah, I'm really hoping that in the performance talking shop we do, I'm really hoping I can get across the importance of periodization to people, because as you say, I think variety in training is a really important concept. Chaos is a really bad one. Chaos creates what we call the interference effect. Okay, so you have to kind of negotiate with the body for it to adapt. And there is a very set way and a very simple way of doing it. If you mess up that process, not only does nothing happen, but you actually start to go backwards. And if, for example, a real common one I see is when people start to stall, females start to stall on their squats. And largely it's because there's a periodization fault, and there's also some activity and strength issue in the posterior chains. And that needs to be addressed first, and then you come back to it. Sometimes people want to squat for 8 weeks, they just work on posterior chain activation and strengthening, and their squat goes up without even squatting. So hopefully we can cover that in the performance one.
Definitely, and I think there's something massive to be said for, you know, having performance-based goals in a program, because the physical changes your body goes through is like a positive byproduct of that. Like when I shifted my mindset to, actually I want to get 100k squat, I want to get 100k trap bar dead, I want to sprint faster. The aesthetic side of stuff kind of went on the back burner in my head to put the pressure off, but then it just happened naturally. So
100%.
I think
that would be my hope for all women, because I think a lot of females have an away from strategy. I don't want to be fat. I don't think that's particularly positive for them. And what you're talking about, and what we did, is exactly what I'd recommend to anybody, is don't run from it like what you're aiming at. So when we talked about your squat goals, I knew that what we're actually talking about is taking your mind away from a stressful state of trying to lose fat into a more positive, proactive state to say, I'm going to really squat heavy perfectly, and I'll worry about the rest later. And of course now you're jacked. So Johnny started banging around. I think he's trying to tell us.
I think they're fixing the door, aren't they?
Fixing the door. So anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think we've got it covered. Some exciting stuff. I'm really excited.
I hope so. I hope that's something positive for our members. At least I think that would be really good if just anything that we've said has given you sort of something to feel good about or to look forward to. We're really excited about the podcasts, and I just hope we do a good enough job.
We will.
Do you think we're going to talk too much?
You will.
Do you think you're just going to ask for Beyonce's number?
100%.
I'll be
All of my questions will be about Beyonce.
I'll be asking him about Rex. So how is Rex? He'll be like, I just drove from Hull. He's talking about the dog. You know what I mean? Right, let's wrap it up. So thanks for watching. Thanks for paying attention. And we'll really look forward to hopefully next week, maybe we can get together if we get the questions in for the weight loss.
Yes.
Maybe we can get a bit better audio.
Hopefully.
Rather than your logic come a virtual fist bump. Out. Big up.
You said it.
Gotta say it.
Oh my